Wildlife expert and safari guide Jean Duplessis explores the Serengeti's link to humans' distant past.
This area is often referred to as the cradle of mankind.
From there, he visits our closest living relatives.
It's always incredible to see chimpanzees. They're so close to ourselves. They just view us as another primate species that live side by side.
And he visits Serengeti's nomadic people, the Masai.
Do you think we can maybe go visit your village? Definitely be born in this culture to appreciate that.
This is the Greater Serengeti in Tanzania. It's one of the most biologically diverse places on the planet. It's home to over 70 species of mammals, and it's the site of the wildebeest migration, the largest mass movement of animals on Earth. But there's more to the Serengeti than its wildlife. It's also one of the most important paleoanthropological sites in the world. On the southern Serengeti Plains in Olduvai Gorge, famed paleontologists Lewis and Mary Leakey made some of their most important fossil discoveries, discoveries that have been central to our understanding of early human origins and evolution.
I'm standing on the edge of Olduvai Gorge, which is a really prominent site within the Great Rift Valley. This area is often referred to as the cradle of mankind because the Leakeys discovered two very prominent skulls here.
Those skulls of Zinjanthropus and Homo habilis date back to about 2 million years.
The reason Olduvai Gorge is so unique is the fact that this used to be a massive lake a couple of million years ago, where these hunter-gatherers or early hominids formed homesteads. It was the perfect environment to live close to a food source. What's really interesting is the fact that Homo habilis, or the handyman, was discovered not more than 20 meters from Australopithecus, living side by side during the same time era. It might sound strange to have two ape-like species living close together like that, but today is no different. Further south in the Great Rift Valley are apes still living. And in other areas in Africa, there are species such as bonobos and gorillas, all living same as us humans in the Great Rift Valley.
Tanzania has several populations of chimpanzees. The most well-known is in Gombe National Park, where Jane Goodall did her famous studies. But the most significant population is actually further south, in Tanzania's Mahale Mountains.
Just arrived onto Mahale airstrip, and we're getting to an old dhow that's going to take us into the national parks. This is one of those unique parks where there's no roads.
Jean wants to see Mahale's wild chimpanzees close up, where he can observe their behavior. And to do that, he's headed to Greystoke, a lodge on the shores of Lake Tanganyika that is only reachable by boat.
I'm on Lake Tanganyika, which is just one of the most spectacular lakes I've ever seen. The largest body of unpolluted fresh water on the planet. Behind me is Mahale Mountain National Park, and this is one of the few parks where one can find viable populations of chimpanzees. On this side of the lake are very much two chimp populations referred to as the M group and the K group, where in the 80s, the M group pretty much overthrew and almost completely demolished the K group. In modern day, the K group is starting to come back, but it's a new population of chimpanzees that's very skittish and hard to see.
It's estimated that the entire park has between 700 and 1,000 chimpanzees. Mahale Mountains National Park is open to tourists, but the lodges are all small occupancy. That, along with the fact that the area is remote and hard to get to, keeps it from being too overrun by tourists. And in a fragile ecosystem, that's a good thing.
We're arriving at camp. It's always a very impressive sight.
Jeff and Carrie, the managers at Greystoke, along with the staff and resident Pelican, come out to greet Jean. Jean settles down in camp for the night. They will begin trekking in the morning.
It's another really hard day in the office.
The chimpanzees live in the mountains around Greystoke. Researchers had been studying them for decades, so they're habituated to humans. This means Jean should be able to sit and observe them. But first, he has to find them. The home range of Ngorongoro spans a very large area. This is mountainous terrain. For Jean, it will mean a tough, steep hike through dense bush. Jean's guide is Muiga Mambo, head guide and primate expert at Greystoke. Muiga is the second generation in his family to work with the chimps. His father worked on a research project in Mahale.
This is our first morning and we're about to head off into the forest to see if we can find these chimps. What can we expect this time of year? Is it going to be easy, hard? What do you think?
Yeah, it's hard walking.
Really?
Honestly. Very hard walking.
Okay.
With limited time, Jean is keen to get started. The chimps are wild animals and aren't on his schedule.
There's still no update from the trackers in terms of locating the chimpanzees this morning, but instead of sitting here on the beach, we're heading off into the forest to go and explore the lower regions of the forest.
The chimps are often easily found in the low-lying areas around the camp.
Yeah. Just keep on walking.
But a recent shift in weather has sent the chimps higher up into the mountains in search of food. This means some serious climbing ahead for Jean, with no guarantees. The chimps can get to areas that are inaccessible to humans. So the trio begins to head into the forest and up the mountain.
What's this?
Strychnus inacua.
They must clearly eat this inside part that is soft and smelling, very citrus-like.
Chimpanzee, they have canine, and then they have strong jaw.
Okay, so they can break it.
Yeah, they can break it.
What can we expect? Is it going to be easy, hard?
Yeah, it's hard walking.
Really?
Honestly.
Jean Duplessis is in the Mahale Mountains, where he and head Greystoke guide, Muiga Mambo, are on a quest to observe the social life of the chimpanzee. We're biologically cousins to chimps and gorillas, and share 98% of the same genetic makeup. What separates us from our hairy relatives is our large brains, our capacity for language, and the ability to create and use complex tools.
Is this a termite mount?
Yes.
I know in Gombe, with Jane Goodall's project, they discovered that they fish for termites with sticks. Do they do the same here?
No. Here they didn't fish from termite mound, but they fish from the trees. There is an ant called carpenter ants. They use tools too.
So here they don't use those sticks to fish for termites. What's quite fascinating is that it's all learned behavior. Obviously some chimp in Gombe did that by accident and there was a termite on, and that's how they learned it. And here in Mahale, maybe one of them was playing around with a stick in a tree and caught a carpenter ant. So it's more a matter of a learned behavior that's brought over from generation to generation, and by chance it haven't happened here that they are fishing for termite.
Science has learned a lot from studying chimp behavior. researchers and scientists have discovered medical treatments for diseases like malaria, diarrhea, and even anti-tumor medication that can be used by humans.
We've been hiking now for most of the morning. The trackers came out at 7 o'clock this morning to try and find the chimpanzees. But this time of year, they're high up in the mountains and in the valleys because that's where the only viable food source will be.
Finally, after several hours of hiking, Jean makes his first sighting.
It's 1 o'clock now and we just came across a group of females and infants. I'm wearing this face mask because a few years ago there was a flu virus that was introduced to this group of chimpanzees, and there was a dramatic decrease in chimpanzee numbers here in Mahali. So as a precaution, all guests coming into contact with chimps must wear these face masks at all times. Just down from me is two females sitting with an infant that's younger than a year. One can see they're younger than a year because they've got this little fluff of white on their backsides. It's always incredible to see chimpanzees. They're just so close to ourselves. They're having a proper game here. The young ones chasing each other. So what was all that about?
That happened is two mothers fighting because of their children.
It's very much just like humans with
Yes.
two kids fighting and then the mothers end up fighting.
Exactly.
Yes.
Although not overly disturbed by the presence of humans, the mothers are understandably protective.
And it seems like they're still having a little bit of squabbles as they move up the hill, so we're just going to try and stay behind them.
Yeah.
And it's just hard to keep up with them. It's very easy for them, obviously, moving through this undergrowth. It's extremely hard for us. This time of day is when they all kind of pass out a bit and take it easy.
Although this group of females is off on their own, chimp society has both a patriarchy and a hierarchy. To get a fuller picture of their social structure, Jean will need to find the males.
Who's now number one? Alofu?
Number one is Primus, and then he was challenged alpha male on that time, calling Pim, and then Orion went up to be number three. So he needed to support Alofu to take over to resume his position. Pim gets scared of him. So Pim, he was needed support from Primus, number three. Primus, he was challenged Alofu, and then Alofu gets scared of him. He disappeared with the one female calling Effie.
It's very complicated. There's a big power struggle going on.
It's amazing.
Seems like you are part of these politics.
Yes,
It's like a soap opera for you.
Yeah.
These females we've been tracking the whole day are part of a much larger group of between 60 and 70 individuals, and hopefully these calls, these little domestic and conflicts within this small group will draw the main group this way, and hopefully those dominant males will come and see what the trouble is here.
The M group of chimps is broken down into several smaller groups. While there are still some males to be seen through the brush, Jean is still looking for the main group and the dominant males.
These kind of calls are totally contact calls because the group is all over this valley. They are communicating with each other, and hopefully some of the ranking males will come and see where these females are, and we might run into them tomorrow. Yeah, it'd also be nice for you to go there and see what's going on, because it seems like it's changing on a daily basis.
Yeah.
It's getting late, so they call it a day. Mwiga leads Jean back down to Greystoke Lodge. Back at the lodge, the resident pelican is more forthcoming than the male chimpanzees.
This pelican is incredible.
This pelican has become a fixture here, and manager Jeff from Greystoke fills in Jean on his backstory.
So what's the deal with this bird?
Yeah, the bird, he swam in off the lake about 8 months ago. There had been a big storm, and next thing we knew, the bird was swimming ashore and started chatting to our guests.
I mean, there's a bit of a daily routine to this guy.
Yeah, it's quite a relaxed daily routine. He landed on the right beach, that's for sure.
It's nice seeing him out in the kayak with you.
Oh, he loves it. He loves kayaking. He really wants to fish. But as a solo bird, it's a real challenge. I mean, they normally fish as a flock, so they corral the fish, and then they all scoop with their huge pouches, and then they filter the water out, and that's how they feed. But as a solo bird, he doesn't stand a chance.
An isolated pelican in the wild is vulnerable. This one is lucky. Jean hopes some of that luck will rub off on him as he heads into day 2 of his quest. Wildlife expert and safari guide Jean Duplessis is in the remote Mahale Mountains National Park. The park has the largest number of wild chimpanzees in Tanzania. And Jean is hoping he can get close enough to watch the chimp's social structure in action. From his base at Greystoke Lodge, Jean has put himself in the hands of its chief guide and primate expert, Mwiga Mambo. It's day 2, and they've just come across a male and a female. Mwiga IDs him as Darwin, the third-ranked male chimpanzee.
And he and this female climbed up this fig tree, and they are feeding on ficus. It's really hard this time of the year for them to find a viable food source, so they really need to eat when they see food. What they will do is they will pick with their hands and stuff their mouths full of figs, and one by one they would run these figs through their teeth, and that way they don't need their hands for the actual feeding anymore. Darwin is the number 3 ranked male in this group of chimpanzees, and that gives him the authority to take a female away for a couple of days. Well, in his case, he's been away with her now for 3 weeks. She's an estrus. That gives him the opportunity to completely monopolize her and be with her all the time. If they are in the big group, he's going to have to share a female in estrus with some of the other ranked males, especially the males that's ranked higher than him. It's a time of day where they kind of lie down and take a bit of a siesta, but it's also a time for grooming. So he's never joining up with the main group in the last couple of weeks?
No, that's why you can see big group there on the mountains. Darwin is here.
Okay.
Mean that he don't like to share.
So what do you think, what's up to Darwin now? Where is he? What's his plans? Does he just kind of go up and down and try and avoid the main group the whole time? So
Yes.
there's no real plan that you think he's after today?
Also, the plan, if you see male doing like that, mean that he needed to be on high rank.
To be able to steal a female like
Yes.
that? Okay.
Yeah, because he won't do that if he's in low rank, like number 7 and like that. He won't do that.
So we're going to leave Darwin.
With Darwin fully occupied by his fig tree and the female, it's time to move on.
We just got news from the trackers that they found the main group. It's quite far from here, high up in the mountains. So we need to take a boat to go around to an easier place to launch from. We're on a boat now just to go around to the next beach, but I expect this is going to be a very hard hike.
They are there on that hill.
We will start from here to find a trail behind this camp to head up into the hills.
The main group of chimps has been spotted even further up the mountain. Jean and the crew have to start again at beach level, and they have a long, tough climb ahead of them.
So M group is by far the most dominant group in Mahali, and it seems like there's a lot of politics at play inside this M group.
Yeah.
That might make matters a little bit unstable for the rest of the group as well.
The alpha male loses power, mean that if he gets sick, and then others, number two, he can take that opportunity to hit him badly. Now in charge is Primus, and then I hope Darwin or Orion, he will take over.
Is this kind of behavior everyday type of thing? Are we likely to see?
Anytime can happen.
So we can expect some excitement.
Exactly.
The hike is a tough one, steep, rocky, and they have to go through a lot of brush. But after 2 hours, the hard work pays off.
We just found the main group after a grueling hike up this mountain. And this is Primus, the alpha male, is lying in front of me here.
Primus, the alpha male, is clutching an enviable prize, the carcass of a colobus monkey. It's more than the little ones can resist.
Look. Oh, dropped it. He had a piece of meat which looks like a colobus monkey, a red colobus, and a young infant basically took it from him. That created a bit of a commotion between the infants. Luckily they don't deal with us red colobus monkeys. And it was interesting to see the two infants fight down below, up in the trees. And there was a mother sitting down here almost shouting instructions up to them to stop it, stop it, stop it. But eventually she went up and then it got all out of hand. And then suddenly Olofo appeared, who's the second ranking male, to come and sort out all this trouble. It's quite common for chimpanzees to eat meat, and it's kind of a delicacy for them. They really like it, but very hard to obtain because it's generally red colobus monkeys that they would catch, and these monkeys are very nimble up in a higher canopy where obviously chimpanzees struggle to move around so far. So it's a massive team effort and a hunting party that will go out and chase all these colobus high up into the canopy, and just with a lot of aggression and movement and shaking of bushes, maybe one of them will fall and they will catch them on the ground.
For now, the excitement seems to be over. Jean Duplessis is on his second day of his quest to find the M group of chimpanzees in the Mahale Mountains National Park. After a difficult hike, Jean and head Greystoke guide Mwiga Mambo have found the core group that includes the ranking males high up in the mountains. And they've located Primus, the alpha male who Mwiga says is also the most unstable.
Who's the most aggressive in the group?
Primus and Orion.
Right.
This guy are crazy. Primus is the alpha male now, and he like fighting a lot. because he has a bad behavior, most of chimps, they don't like him. That's why you can see he'll use like a force. Yeah, maybe 1 year to come, he will lose his power.
And who do you think will be coming up next?
Could be Darwin, because he did such good things, and Orion.
Who's the oldest chimpanzee in the group?
It's Kalunde. He's
Right.
55 years old. Kalunde, he's kingmaker.
Right.
If he decided to support you, most of majority of chimps, they're going to listen to him, and then they're going to support.
So who is he supporting now?
Yeah.
Who is he?
Now he's working with Alof for many times, so seems like he needed to support Alof to be to resume his position.
And has he been alpha?
Yeah, he was alpha male in 1991 for 1 year only. Yeah.
Why do you hope that Darwin would become alpha?
Yeah, because he has a lot of support also. Even Alofo, he support him. And then a lot of female also, they like him. Yeah, he's peaceful, yeah. But Orion is angry. He want to take over from number 1. So when he do that, he convince the female agree, and then he going to those number 3, 4, and 5. When they agree, they're going to try to challenge the alpha male.
Sitting in between a group of ranking males and females in this quiet time, for the time being, where they are grooming each other. It shows respect, it strengthens bonds between individuals. It's quite amazing how you can just sit here. One kind of wonder if they just view us as another primate species that lives side by side to them, and don't have any negative effects on them.
After spending time with the chimps, it's time for Jean to move on. But all the difficult hiking has paid off. Jean's had a chance to observe the chimps' dynamic social structure up close. It's always in constant change as lower-ranking males vie to move up in the hierarchy. Perhaps not so different from the way human societies work. Now Jean heads back to the greater Serengeti. He's heading to Lake Natron in the Great Rift Valley. Here in the shadow of the sacred Oldonyo Lengai volcano is the center of the Masai culture. The Serengeti Plains is known for its relatively undisturbed ecosystem, its rich wildlife, and the wildebeest migration. But it is also one of the key places where our species, Homo sapiens, evolved. We know that hominids have lived in the Serengeti for a long time, but a recent discovery on the shores of Lake Natron is helping rewrite the story of modern humans.
Yeah, this looks like an adult, maybe a bit smaller.
Yeah, this is for baby.
Yeah, we've got a few sets of footprints here. It seems like these people were walking from over there, going down this way, and they were all walking barefoot. In southern Serengeti, or more in the Ngorongoro conservation area, there's another set of footprints. Those are called the footprints of Loitole. That's the oldest proof of walking on 2 legs, and that humanoid was called Homo erectus.
These footprints provide a link to humanity's distant past, but the area around Lake Natron and the eastern side of the Serengeti is currently home to the Masai.
This series of footprints are referred to as the Ngorongoro footprints, and it's very interesting because it's the oldest footprints of Homo sapiens in East Africa dating back to 120,000 years. The significance of these footprints are that it's a clear indication that modern-day Homo sapiens lived in this area for a very long time, even a little bit longer than what was originally thought.
The Masai settled in the Serengeti around the 15th century and developed a very distinct culture that they have held on to in spite of pressures from the modern world. Little has changed in their lifestyle or culture in that time. They are still a tribe of semi-nomadic pastoralists. There are two things that define life for the Masai: their cattle and their spiritual beliefs. The Masai believe in a single God who influences their daily life. And there are a number of places around the greater Serengeti that they consider sacred. The most sacred is Oldonyo Lengai, an active volcano that the Masai believe is their god.
Oldonyo Lengai is very famous. 2 years ago, we was have really trouble with dry season. Many cattle die around here, also Kenya. So I saw Masai from Kenya. They are joining with a Masai old man or old woman from in this place. And they joined together and they make a safari. I mean, about 2 days, they went to the top.
And then it started raining.
Yeah, I mean, it was about after that, few months coming, it's raining, and we have a big rain right now.
Yes. According to Peter, some of these families actually packed up and they left the area altogether in fear of bigger eruptions. So do you think people were doing something wrong to make the god angry?
Yeah, it's a big eruption until people, they move from the same place to another place.
Where did the ash go? Did it
goes to Ngorongoro direction?
The ash from Lengai gets picked up by the wind. It's this nutrient-rich ash from these volcanoes that constantly replenishes the Serengeti. In one area, the ash is collected into a sand dune. It is one of the Masai's sacred sites.
I'm heading to the Shifting Sands, which is one of very few sacred places to the Masai tribe. And it's out here on extremely barren terrain. The area I'm in is inside the Ngorongoro Conservation Area. The Masai's lived here for a couple of 100 years. It's a great example of where people and wildlife can live side by side. The Masai traditionally are not hunters, so they are a prime example of a tribe that can live in harmony with wildlife. There's quite a few Masai sheep herds around.
Jean arrives at the Masai sacred site and finds a welcoming committee.
There's different kind of greetings for men and women in Masai, or the language is called Ma. And you say different things when you greet a woman or a younger woman, older woman, or different age set of male as well. Noyeyo, Takwenya, Wala Takoko.
Masai culture is patriarchal and sharply divided along gender lines. The Masai take Jean to see the sacred sand dune.
The sand dune was created by a volcanic eruption out of Oldonyo Lengai that's off in that direction, and it's now been moving downwind in approximately 25 meters every year. There's definitely some magnetic qualities to the sand that keeps it sticking together. Here you can see the sand falling over on itself. And this is essentially just a normal sand dune made up out of volcanic ash that have some magnetic qualities that kind of keep it together a little bit. And it just keeps on falling over on itself like this. It's pretty cool. These shifting sands have some religious value to the Masai tribe, and it's believed that if a woman cannot conceive, that they need to come and sleep in this vortex, and that will help them to become pregnant.
The women are raised to become wives and mothers, and the men are Masai warriors. These roles have been in place since the Masai settled here in the 15th century. Wildlife expert and safari guide Jean Duplessis is at Lake Natron in the Great Rift Valley. It's the cultural center of the Masai people.
I'm at the Wildland Safaris Lake Natron camp, and this is Mwinga, who's going to be my Masai guide. These cows are now being taken out into the field by the young boys called Lioni, where they will go to pastures and just be out there for the whole day and be laid back around 6 o'clock in the evening.
The Masai men are warriors, called Morani.
I always wonder what is the responsibility of the Morani, because 50 years ago there was a lot more trouble with maybe lions and other tribes and things like that, and then the Morani were like the warriors and they were protecting the tribe. So, but today there's not so much trouble with warfare, and you don't need to go and catch and steal cows. So what does the Morani do these days?
The function of Moran now to do it is only to look for the peace and love for the community, and also to migrate with cow to the somewhere which have the enough grass or enough food and enough water.
But I find that very interesting what you say. Is like now the new function of them is to make sure that there's peace and love in the community. Yeah. But of course, in the same way, it's also protecting the culture. So yeah, I think that's great. This enclosure here seems to where they are keeping the goats at night. The baby goats. What's interesting is that it's a mini representation of how the main Masai houses are being constructed, where they take these branches from a cordia tree and then packing it with dung all the way up the walls and even on the inside, and then they will smoothen it out with mud on the outside to give it the nice red ochre type of look. Besides all the modern technology that surround the Masai tribe, they still choose to live in these very traditional houses and a very traditional lifestyle. And I mean, you might have a watch and a cell phone, but you know, you still that's one of the things that I always admire about Masai, so they're clung onto this culture. It's really nice.
In spite of their reputation as warriors, the Masai are not hunters. Their traditional diet includes meat from the animals they raise. They also drink raw cow blood and milk.
The Morani are going to draw some blood from a cow's neck, and these are special tools that they use to kind of get the blood out. It's like an arrow that they shoot in. Okay. Is that's still really a big part of the Masai diet?
Yep. Of course,
okay. Sure. The major part, you think?
Yep.
Kali. Yeah. That's very sharp. There's the. Looks like a young one. Is it?
Yes, young one.
There's a little kid with the calabash.
Yeah.
That's what they carry the blood in.
Yeah.
So how much blood do you take then, Wingan?
We not take much.
Okay. They're now going to take this calabash and get some fresh milk in there. So if you don't stir it, it goes hard, it goes solid. Oh boy. You definitely need to be born in this culture to appreciate that. Yes. Lactose and protein intolerant.
How is it?
That's like coffee.
It's like coffee. Sure.
I don't see my name on here.
No.
Getting this to Starbucks. Like
Jean is heading to the Ngorongoro crater highlands, where Mazigio Tented Camp works with the local Masai to give tourists some insight into their traditions. The Maasai's semi-nomadic lifestyle allows their livestock to thrive despite the relatively dry climate. But the landscape provides other economic opportunities as well.
The traditional role of the warriors used to be to enrich the tribe, and that used to take on the form of going at war with your neighboring clans and stealing their cows. And in these modern days, that's obviously frowned upon a little bit. So the more modern way to do that is to get cash from tourists, and it's basically just the evolution of the tribe.
Tourism is now a major source of revenue for the Masai. But the Masai don't often open their homesteads. Instead, they use elements of their traditions to create attractions for the tourists. Jean is at a recreation of an opul. It's a ceremony involving a feast of meat that is only for the men. A traditional opul will take place away from the village and last 2 or 3 days.
Today we got a message that we are coming, so we prepare our traditional food. Normally our traditional food is meat and milk and blood. We took a blood without killing from the neck of the cow.
In a lot of ways, the saving grace for wildlife in Tanzania is the fact that Masai can live side by side with wild animals, and the reason is because it's just not in their tradition to kill wild animals for food, where most other tribes in Tanzania will do that. But all of these areas that's bounding Masai village land is safe, where one can still go quality game viewing as well. Of course, Masai are not killing the wild animals. So why is it that the Masai has never went like other tribes where they would hunt wildlife?
That's a good question. You know, the Masai people, we believe in God, for one God for everyone in the world, white people, black people. So our beliefs tell us that we have a very special gift coming from God as animals. We're herd people. We keep livestock, cows, goat, sheep.
So Masai never eat wild
We
animals?
never eat any game meat. Oh. You can test the barbecue.
Be nice with a bit of chili sauce. But the chief here say, not allowed. Only meat, no salt, no chili, just like that. It was actually pretty good. Tastes very goaty. These Masai warriors, called Morani, are now starting to prepare a soup that's made from boiled up goat intestines.
Normally the Masai people, we never use the soup without the herbs. Then the herbs come from the different plants.
It's enjoying an early evening snack.
You guys, do you eat this? No?
Containing a lot of stomach lining and heart and lung.
Wildlife expert and safari guide Jean Duplessis has been getting up close to both chimpanzees and humans in his exploration of the changing face of hominid life on the Serengeti.
Humans lived here from as far back as 30 to 40,000 years.
Now he's up early to survey the landscape from above and to look back even further.
Hominids have been living on the Serengeti plains for millions of years. In fact, not too far from where I'm standing now are the famous footsteps of Laetoli, which date back 3 million years, and those are the earliest form or signs of humans walking on 2 legs. Since then, up until now, humans have utilized this great wildlife expanse.
From Australopithecus to Homo sapiens, they all share the common trait of walking on 2 legs. But it is the privilege of humans alone to survey this land from above, to understand its past, and hopefully to protect its future.
This morning we're taking to the sky in his hot air balloon to get a little bit of a new perspective of this beautiful countryside.
Okay, we are flying along the Seronera Valley, and this valley collects water from open area and take that water to Grumeti River.
It's interesting seeing this area from the air, wondering how much has changed over the last 3 million years since Homo erectus actually took his first steps. I actually expect that it looked a lot different here. before the eruption of Ngorongoro, where this massive ash cloud fell over here, and that's what gives this area this great characteristic of these open plains. It's debatably hundreds of meters of thick ash that covered all these valleys.
I'm trying to follow the river.
Yeah, it's amazing up here.
Somewhere there?
Don't think we'll be doing canoeing in this river. Just flew over two male lions, beautiful, clearly the dominant pair of this area. Very undeterred by their balloons. These open plains are not really that conducive to the way humans want to live. Even though there's a huge amount of game in the wet season, and the dry season it's extremely barren, and there's very little to eat for anything from hominids all the way through to predators. So I would think that the area was much more ideal for humans to live and evolve prior to the eruption of the Ngorongoro crater. These river systems are like lifelines.
The Serengeti is a remarkable feat of nature. It was born in a catastrophic eruption of the Ngorongoro volcano millions of years ago, creating lush plains that sustain an incredible range of wildlife. It's where our distant ancestors walked and evolved as part of a self-sustaining ecosystem, where every creature, from the smallest insect to the massive bull elephant, plays their unique part. It's the site of the world's greatest mass migration of land animals. It's a window into what the world looks like when it's in balance. How nature, humans, and wildlife can coexist and live in harmony as it was meant to be. This is the Serengeti.
Wildlife expert Jean Duplessis explores new heights as he climbs Africa's highest mountain, Kilimanjaro.
Okay, off we go.
Scientists predicted a quick demise for its famed glaciers, but 10 years on, they're still there.
There's just been an avalanche up there.
Now the question is, for how much longer?
Every year it's becoming smaller and smaller.
To get there, Jean will venture into thin air.
There's almost nothing surviving up at these altitudes.
At the southern end of the Serengeti lies the ruins of a massive volcano. More than 2 million years ago, in what must have been a spectacular event, an eruption emptied the volcano's magma chamber, causing a catastrophic collapse of the volcano, forming a massive caldera 20 kilometers across, and burying the surrounding area in a thick layer of ash, creating Tanzania's lush Serengeti plains. 160 kilometers to the west stands another giant. Rising nearly 6,000 meters out of the savanna, Kilimanjaro is the highest peak in Africa and the largest freestanding mountain in the world. Kilimanjaro is a volcano. People who live near its base believed it to be extinct, but signs of activity at its summit crater are proving otherwise. Kilimanjaro is only dormant, quietly biding its time until its next major eruption. Wildlife expert and safari guide Jean Duplessis has lived in the shadow of Kilimanjaro for 20 years, but he has never climbed it. That's about to change. Every year, thousands of tourists come to Tanzania to climb Kilimanjaro, no doubt drawn to the glaciers at its peak, the famous snows of Kilimanjaro. Over a decade ago, scientists predicted global warming would melt the glaciers, but they're still there. So now, Jean is climbing it with a mission. He's heading to the summit to see for himself how climate change is affecting the glaciers. Once on top, he will also look for evidence that the volcano's magma chamber is active. Jean's guide is Mount Kilimanjaro veteran Edward Seth. He works for a commercial tour company called Nature Discovery Tours Tanzania.
I started working with this company as a porter before. Now I am a guide, but started as the assistant guide, and now I am a head guide.
He's been working for Nature Discovery for 5 years, been up the mountain over 100 times.
There are 10 different routes up Kilimanjaro. Jean is taking the Umbwe route, which is considered to be the toughest because of its steep ascent, rapid change in altitude, and physical demands. The ascent will take 5 days. They will establish 5 camps along the way, including one at the summit crater at 5,730 meters.
And what's happening now is all the porters are getting the equipment off the vehicle, setting everything out, and behind me is a scale. So every piece of equipment will be weighed, and by that it will be established how many porters we need to take with us on the mountain.
The porters are packing the gear that they'll need over the next week. It's Jean's first altitude climb, and he's surprised at the extent of the expedition for such a small team.
At the moment we stand at 21 porters. Yeah, do we really need all of these people and all of this stuff? It's incredible.
Yes.
This is obviously much more than just a gentle stroll. You know, looking at everything that's been taken along for us, it seems like it's going to be a far cry from a primitive stay on the mountain. There's mess tents and fancy menus. We are like proper wageni. So we just started the walk, just left Umbwe Gate, and apparently the key to Kilimanjaro is just to take your time, to gradually and slowly acclimatize to the altitude change.
This is a supported climb. Porters carry all the gear, everything the expedition needs for a week. This frees up the clients to give them the best chance of adapting to altitude and reaching the summit. Because of the sheer volume of equipment and the challenges of the climb, there are porters whose sole job is to support the other porters.
The climb will take a total of 7 days, 5 days up, 2 days back down. There are no really easy days on a climb that moves to altitude this quickly. Today's first hike will see a gain of over 1,200 meters in altitude.
Kilimanjaro has 5 climatic zones, the most found anywhere in the world in one single place. They start from the savanna at its base, through rainforest and giant heather. At about 4,000 meters, the system changes again into an alpine desert. And then finally, Arctic conditions at the summit. Jean's first day has been spent trekking through the rainforest that covers the lower slopes. This rainforest gets 1 to 2 meters of rain a year. The rainforest has an abundance of wildlife, but the vegetation is so dense that it's hard to see what's there.
Just found some Sykes monkeys or blue monkeys up in the trees here. There's also a group of colobus with them. These are typical monkeys that you find in these montane forests, especially in these East African volcanoes. They mainly feed off leaves and then berries and things that you get here, but they're generally leaf eaters. Classic to the colobus monkeys, they've only got 4 fingers to aid them in moving through the trees very quickly, where the Sykes monkeys are more of your typical primates, where they have a hand as humans. Something that's interesting about these colobus monkeys are that their babies are completely white, and the theory behind that is that they are quite clumsy because they are missing a thumb. And it's very easy for them to drop the babies. So by being white, they tend to see them much easier. And then, of course, when they do drop them, they can see them lying down in very dark leaf cover. You can see a Sykes monkey through there. They are kind of scuttling away. You can hear some very high-pitched, almost bird-like warning calls. To them, we are obviously a predator. I think their real predator in here is more than likely leopards, but their number one predator would be crowned eagles.
It doesn't take Jean long to discover why this Umbwe route is considered Kilimanjaro's most challenging.
We're just about to walk into our first camp. So apparently this was the toughest day of them all, a very serious climb. It was at least 7 hours of hiking and it was pretty steep, I suppose. We are going up Kilimanjaro, aren't we? Some of the porters are already ahead, setting up camp. According to Edward, this is their least favorite route. And I can completely understand that, carrying everything they are carrying.
What Jean does not know is today is the longest day and not the hardest. Each day will get progressively harder.
After 7 hours of hiking, they've arrived at Camp 1, their home for the night.
Good job.
9,500 feet.
You're welcome.
Good, good. Day one, done and dusted. Covered a lot of ground and up in a beautiful forest camp. Moss and lichen hanging off the trees, mist moved in, and it's actually not so cold, just really stunning. The crew and the porters are setting up camp at the moment, and I'm ready for a nice warm cup of chai.
Wildlife expert Jean Duplessis is climbing Africa's highest mountain, Mount Kilimanjaro. Rising 6,000 meters above the savannah, Kilimanjaro is Africa's highest mountain.
Very serious climb. We are going up Kilimanjaro, aren't we?
This is Jean's first time up the mountain. He's led by veteran Kilimanjaro guide Edward Seth, who works for Nature Discovery Tours.
According to Edward, this is the porter's least favorite route.
As the sun rises, Jean prepares for the challenging day ahead.
This is morning of day 2. It's a beautiful morning. The sun is out. There's no clouds. I think it's going to be a fantastic hike. The crew here behind me is packing up and they will set off soon. It's a short but very intense day into Barako camp. According to Edward, about 4 hours, but extremely steep.
It's not just a steep climb. Today's route is also the beginning of Jean's biggest challenge, acclimatizing to the altitude. Barranco Camp is at 4,000 meters. The porters have done this many times and can move at a faster pace and will go ahead. Edward will keep Jean moving at a slower pace, so he has time to adjust to the lower oxygen level. The bonus is that Jean will have time to stop and explore the natural beauty of the mountain's diverse landscapes. Today's route will take them out of the rainforest and into the next of Kilimanjaro's 5 ecosystems, the moorlands. Jean is traveling through the tail end of the rainforest, which offers a lot to investigate. With upwards of 2 meters of annual rainfall, this rainforest is a dense and biologically diverse landscape.
We have some moss and lichen hanging off the trees everywhere around us. This is also commonly referred to as old man's beard. The trees everywhere here are covered with this, and it's completely reliant on the mist that comes in here. It captured the water drops and it would hold that, and slowly during the day would drip down, providing a constant source of water for these plants during a day.
Because of the steep terrain of this route, the surroundings change quickly. The thick rainforest canopy begins to thin out, allowing more light to penetrate the floor. As they transition into the moorland, giant heather rises above the thick carpets of moss that covers the ground. The moss is a perfect habitat for some of the mountain's smaller creatures.
So I just came across this chameleon. It seems to me like a young, flappet-necked chameleon. And what's interesting is that it's very dark, much darker than chameleons you would find at lower altitudes. And that's clearly to absorb maximum heat in these colder climates. Of course, another reason might be that it is displaying warning coloring because I picked it up. It's fluctuating between black and yellow. And the yellow is clearly to aid in camouflage because it's living on this heather, and that will help him to blend in much easier. There we go.
The majority of climbing routes on Kilimanjaro rise gradually through the rainforest, which lets climbers ease into the higher altitudes. But the tough Umbwe route is relentless. It has no undulation to give relief to climbers, but continues straight up.
They said yesterday was the hardest day. This has been pretty much a straight up climb from camp this morning, and according to our guides, it's very much like this all the way into our campsite.
So far, the thick rainforest canopy has blocked the view of the summit. But as the group climbs, the heather stops abruptly, and Jean gets his first glimpse of Mount Kilimanjaro. They are now out of the rainforest and are entering Kilimanjaro's third ecosystem, the moorlands. Jean, who knows the Serengeti and all its wildlife well, is seeing this landscape for the first time.
We just walked out of the forest and suddenly started to go into this moorland zone and immediately walked into this giant groundsel forest. It's incredible. It's my first time to see these plants. It's like walking into the kind of alien world. This is a type of tree that one finds on most of these large African volcanoes. Similar mountains like Mount Kenya, the Ruwenzoris, Mount Meru, all at this altitude will find this tree. These groundsels are extremely well adapted for these cold climates. You can see they've got furry stems, obviously insulating them a bit, but the best insulation is down here. These groundsels have all of these dead leaves to insulate the inner tree, protecting it against these extreme cold weather. Also on these moorland zones, you find a large variety of specifically adapted flowers and grasses. There's a lot of these alpine grasses, and these flowers are hard and papery to make them survive these extreme windy and cold conditions that's very frequent on these slopes.
They have been climbing for just over 4 hours and are now at the Barranco Valley. This is where they will make camp tonight. From here, they will have a clear view of the main peak of Kilimanjaro.
We're just about to walk into our camp for tonight. This last stretch has been really nice and easy. And it's a beautiful day, sunny, about 5-6 hours on the trail, and a really much different environment.
People come from all over the world to see the snows of Kilimanjaro at the top of Africa's tallest peak. A decade ago, scientists predicted that the glaciers would be gone by now because of climate change. But Kilimanjaro's famed glaciers are still there. Wildlife expert Jean Duplessis and nature discovery guide Edward Seth are climbing to Kilimanjaro's summit.
This has been pretty much a straight up climb.
A 5-day trek that will take them to see just how far the glaciers have retreated over the past decade. It's day 2 of this week-long trek, and they have just arrived at their camp in the Barranco Valley, where they finally have a clear view of Kilimanjaro's peak.
Just arrived into the camp for today, Barranco Camp. Incredible views up into Arrow Glacier. Can easily spot our trail of tomorrow going up here. Seems like it's going to be a bit of a scramble for the first 2 hours. There's just been an avalanche up there. All of the white we see up here is pretty much ice and glaciers. So this is the hottest time of the day, and these glaciers start to melt, and there's a lot of buildup of water in it. And it must have been just a sudden break of that. The ice is melting, and a lot of water keeps on gushing down, and it must have just broken down at the bottom piece of that glacier, and it just came gushing down a valley there. Initially I thought it was thunder, but then there was just this kind of dust of ice.
It's not clear whether this glacial burst is a sign of their retreat. Jean hopes he'll get a clearer picture when he reaches the summit. As the climb progresses, Jean realizes why they need so many porters. Everything down to the kitchen needs to be carried up the mountain.
Hello, we are in the kitchen, just preparing the dinner here. So what we used to prepare is we use the gas tank to cook dinner. As you know that within the national park nowadays, like Kilimanjaro, we are not allowed to use to cook by using firewood. So the cook here preparing the dinner, as you see there. So they are preparing beef steers fried, and then peanut stew, and then it's peanut sauce, yeah. And then there you can see spinach soup, spinach soup, and rice too. So it's really very, very delicious food that you enjoy. Well, I had a very good night. I slept well, and then John is doing fine too, and he's very strong today. And then I hope you are going to make to the summit, but I can't promise about the altitude, but I hope you will be fine.
It's morning of day 3, and the crew is starting to pack up camp. It's heating up very quickly. It was freezing cold this morning. Today's walk starts with a really intense climb up the Barranco wall. It's about 2 hours, and as I'm looking out into the distance, I can see this trail of climbers going up. So we'll be coming in behind most of the porters of some of the other camps.
The Umbwe route is particularly challenging for the porters. Scattered throughout the climb are technical sections that make carrying loads difficult. Today's challenge is the Barranco Wall, a steep, nearly vertical section up the side of one of Kilimanjaro's lava flows.
At Barranco, the Umbwe route merges with one of the more commercial climbing routes.
There's a bit of a traffic jam here. No idea how these guys get these loads up through these tiny little valleys and cracks. It's quite humbling. There's one way to do it, is with a bit of music. There we go.
The climbers have to scramble across narrow ledges and up steep crags. The porters have to do this while carrying their packs of equipment. Each hand and foot placement requires precision. There is no room for error. A miss will send climbers down a sheer drop into the Barranco Valley.
Health and safety will improve, but it's a nice climb.
This is Jean's first Kilimanjaro climb, and he's doing well.
We are about 3/4 of the way up the Barranco wall at 13,200 feet. Amazing climb this morning, coming almost straight up this wall. Certainly some of the steepest parts of this route so far had to use hands and feet. Not quite technical, but close to. Behind me, incredible valley, this Barranco Valley, which is a glacier valley. About 100 years ago, this must have been filled with ice, about 100 feet deep, where today the ice only starts still a little bit higher.
At one time, the edges of the glaciers were below 4,500 meters. Now, it's not clear whether the retreat of the glaciers is a natural phenomenon or whether it's caused by human activity and climate change. Today's climb is not about gaining elevation, it's about acclimatizing to the altitude. At Kilimanjaro's summit, the human body has only 50% of the oxygen it has at sea level, so it has to work twice as hard. As it adapts to the thin air, the body starts producing more white blood cells, increasing the amount of oxygen in the blood supply. Now they are heading into the Ngorongoro Valley, where they face their next challenge before heading into Camp 3.
This is the Ngorongoro Valley, and this is our last obstacle before we get into Ngorongoro camp. It's a very steep climb up into camp, but then it's the end of the day where we can kind of start the acclimatization process, because tomorrow night is at the same altitude again to get ready before we go into Crater Camp.
As an experienced walking guide, it's a point of pride for Jean to stay within striking distance of the porters. But in spite of his best efforts today, the challenges of being at altitude are slowing him down. The porters have already set up camp. Wildlife expert Jean Duplessis has lived in the shadow of Mount Kilimanjaro for more than 20 years and is climbing it for the first time. Along with nature discovery guide Edward Seth, Jean wants to look at the effects that climate change is having on the mountain's famous glaciers. It's day 4 of this challenging hike. Jean is at an altitude of 4,500 meters. He is within 24 hours of the summit. Now, with each gain in elevation, the risk of altitude sickness increases. The physical demands on the mountain are challenging enough so that most climbers hire an experienced guide and professional porters to do the heavy lifting.
Edward is an amazing young guy doing these climbs back to back, you know, doing an 8-day climb, come back, repack, go up again. You must be a very strong, stable human being to go up and always take fairly large groups of guests onto high mountains and extreme weather conditions where everyone is going to feel bad. So besides being a very fit and able person to do it, you know, he also is your psychologist up there, and he's your friend, and he's your motivator, you know. And it's wonderful to see how these Tanzanian mountain guides can be all of that and almost put their own needs aside and channel all of their energy into their guests and making sure that they have not only reached the summit, but they have a great time doing that. And Edward is a prime example of one of these guides just with all of those qualities.
Porters carry loads of supplies up the mountain, set up the camps, and cook the meals. A demanding job in an incredibly tough environment.
Okay. So we are going to take it and then measure it. Yeah.
20 on the dot.
Yeah.
So yeah, 20 kilograms. It's an incredible load to lug up Kilimanjaro. You know, besides the going up and down in the physical terrain, you are also operating at a really high altitude. For me, it's hard simply just walking up these hills. I can't imagine what it's like for the porters to be carrying 20 kilograms on their heads and on their necks, including their personal gear as well. So just in order for me to understand a little bit better, I'm going to try and carry this for a while. So let's give it a shot. 20. Okay, you ready? Okay, off we go.
Each porter will do between 1 and 3 trips a month. Working as a porter is the first step to becoming a mountain guide like Edward. After a couple of 100 meters at altitude, Jean is in some difficulty.
No, that was no joke. It's extremely hard carrying something like that. First of all, in an uncomfortable position, either on your head or on your neck, going up this hill with no oxygen. One needs to be hugely respectful to these porters, carrying these massive loads up here. Most of the guides that guide on the mountain all started as porters, and this seems to be like that little initiation that anyone that wants to go somewhere on the mountain needs to go through.
Zaina, 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 mtoto wa mama, Zaina, anapenda kitu, Zaina, Zaina, yo 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 yo, Zaina, 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 wageni, wageni, wanapenda nguvu, Zaina, ya kupanda huku, Zaina, oh 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 oh, Zaina, oh 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 oh, Zaina, Zaina, Zaina.
This is where an experienced guide is essential. This is Jean's first climb, his first time at this altitude, and Edward is keeping a close eye on him, watching for any signs of altitude sickness. Altitude sickness is a serious condition that can affect climbers regardless of their fitness level. It can cause fluid to build in the climber's lungs or swelling in the brain. Both conditions can be fatal. Early signs range from nausea to mental confusion. If Jean starts to show any of these warning signs, his climb will be over. The only cure is a rapid descent to a lower altitude.
Just arriving in our final camp before the summit attempt tomorrow morning. This camp is sitting at 15,200 feet. And I'm clearly a little bit out of breath. It was a steep climb into camp. There's not much in terms of vegetation around here. I don't think anything grows. So we'll spend the afternoon here just to acclimatize and get ready for tomorrow.
It's at this altitude that the experience of the outfitting company is important. One of the porters has been carrying a pack that has a state-of-the-art emergency medical kit.
So we have a hyperbaric chamber here. It works the same as the oxygen, you know. You can use this oxygen or hyperbaric chamber. Why? In case someone is suffering with high altitude sickness, like pulmonary edema or cerebral edema.
Do you carry them in this?
Yeah, okay. We carry them.
We are at 15,200 feet right now, and tomorrow morning we'll be going up to just under 20,000 feet. That's an incredible climb, and I mean, it's a huge misconception that Kilimanjaro is not a dangerous mountain. It's massively dangerous, and the dangerous day is tomorrow. Altitude sickness can hit you irrelevant of how fit you are. It can hit anyone irrespective, and I've got no idea how I will react at those high altitudes tomorrow, so just as well we have this bag with us.
At 5,000 meters, we are now in Kilimanjaro's alpine zone. It's a stark contrast to the verdant rainforest that started out the trek. Even in this barren wasteland that is difficult for humans, there is wildlife.
So by far the most common bird species found in these high altitude camps are these white-naped ravens. They are all over the place, and it's not common to find these ravens in huge congregations. Generally, one would find them just in a breeding pair, and they would live in that monogamous breeding pair throughout the breeding season. These straight cliffs and harsh environment is an ideal place for these ravens to nest, and one would generally find that a pair would look for a ledge. There they will find some sticks and grass and fur and things, and make a soft bed inside where they will lay their eggs. Pretty much the main reason these ravens are in these campsites are because that they are scavengers. Besides eating small lizards and mice, and they will even scavenge off dead carcasses. The main food source in these stark environments must certainly be leftover food from these hikers.
They are now within a day's walk of the summit of Mount Kilimanjaro. As well, Jean is hoping to take a detour and hike to the volcanic crater to look for fumaroles. Fumaroles are heat and volcanic gas outlets in the ground that indicate the mountain still contains an active magma chamber just below the summit. Jean's ascent has been rapid, just 4 days, and so the effects of the altitude are really pronounced. Now the climb becomes a mental game. Jean knows that tomorrow each step will be a gain in altitude, and the climb will get harder.
It is very high, and I've never been that high.
Okay.
He's been handling it well so far, but that's no prediction that he will continue to handle the thin air well.
Let's check oxygen saturation and the heart rate, okay? Yeah, oxygen is 80, heart rate is 83. Yeah, that's really good.
79. 80, back to 80. Okay, 80 is good.
The cold is another physical stress for Jean. As a South African, he is not used to frigid temperatures as low as -20.
We'll head out of camp around 6 o'clock, and incredible sunset we just had, kind of going down behind Kilimanjaro with this mist coming and going. Just really, really scenic. We thought for most of the day that we're not going to see the mountain. It was very misty since about 11 o'clock this morning. But yeah, stunning. And I'm really sitting here just contemplating my doom for tomorrow.
Mount Kilimanjaro is almost 6,000 meters. It's Africa's highest peak. Wildlife expert and safari guide Jean Duplessis has nearly completed his first climb. He's come to see for himself how global warming is affecting the famous glaciers at the top of Kilimanjaro. And he's hoping to make an extra trip to the volcanic crater to look for evidence that proves that Kilimanjaro has an active magma chamber. Jean is climbing with veteran guide Edward Seth. In this thin air, Seth is watching carefully to make sure that Jean is not suffering from the beginnings of altitude sickness, which can be fatal.
So everyone is up. It's very cold, and the sun is just about to rise. And we're going to start this trek now. We expect about 3 to 4 hours up to the summit. It's beautiful up there. I can already see the sun catching the summit there. Yeah, it's going to be a great day. Can't wait.
Day 5 of the climb, and the conditions are beautiful. Cold, but clear. There's a lot to accomplish on the summit, so they push a steady pace. The plan has been to make a detour at this point to the summit crater to search for volcanic fumaroles. That round trip will add 4 hours to their day, so they need to keep moving.
So this whole morning we've been walking on an ancient lava flow. It's interesting walking up this mountain where you can see how these different lava flows over the centuries built this enormous volcano. And it always is staggering to me that this was really at some point down at ground level. And over the millennia, with these various eruptions and these millions of tons of lava that built the stratovolcano to be the size what Kilimanjaro is now. So I thought we would be at least halfway, but apparently we're only a quarter of the way. So going at a steady pace, feeling good. Yeah.
After 4 hours of climbing, Jean is approaching the crater rim. It's not the summit, but it ends the toughest part of the climb. From here, the summit is just 45 minutes away. If they are going to make their trip to the volcanic crater, this is where they'll make that trip.
Arrival up at Stella Point was quite epic. It's a very steep hike that last day, and Stella Point is the first time as you come up the side of Kilimanjaro and you kind of reach the rim and you are now looking into the crater. And it's a hard hike, especially at those altitudes. We had fairly good weather all the way up, and we never really saw snow or ice up until about an hour before we reached Stella Point, and I thought that was just beautiful to see these ice layers coming down. Looking into the crater with those glaciers there, it was a really nice, beautiful sight.
The top of Kilimanjaro is not a traditional mountain peak. It's actually a broad crater, several kilometers across, with a large inner crater at its center. For a long time, the conventional wisdom was that Kilimanjaro was extinct. But recent explorations have revealed that Kilimanjaro has active fumaroles near the summit crater. The pair had planned to take a detour to Kilimanjaro's volcanic crater to see whether there is evidence of activity. But this far above sea level, the human body has to work twice as hard to do most normal things. And Jean has realized his limitations. He doesn't think he can make the 4-hour round trip to the crater and make the summit. After almost a week of climbing the mountain, Jean has to make a choice.
When I reached Stella Point, there was a decision to be made, and I decided to rather wait and conserve my energy for the summit attempt.
Jean will stay with the assistant guide, while Edward, who is much better acclimatized, will explore the crater on his own. Up until now, they've had fantastic weather. But within a half an hour, a blinding ice storm moves in, and Edward gets caught in the middle of it. Storms on Kilimanjaro can end as quickly as they start, so Edward continues on to the crater.
It's a very, very bad storm that we are not able to see down to this rim. But we are on the top of the rim now. But as you see, the weather is really, really amazing, very bad. Due to this really bad weather storm, we have to go back to Stella Point to see John there.
Yeah, it's kind of good that in the end I didn't go to the crater because poor Edward was caught in a massive ice storm up there and he couldn't see more than a few feet in front of him. So he didn't get to see much of the crater either. It also shows you the extreme climates of this mountain. I mean, being the highest freestanding mountain in the world, it's so exposed to the elements, and there's no mountain ranges on the sides of it that blocks the wind all the way from the Indian Ocean. You have got these winds battering this mountain, and it changes literally in minutes. And it's such pockets of intense weather where I could sit, I mean, almost less than a kilometer away from them, and they could be in the worst possible weather conditions, and I was fairly sheltered.
After almost a week climbing the mountain, Jean sees the snows of Kilimanjaro.
Here we go. Last few steps to the roof of Africa.
It's day 5 on Mount Kilimanjaro, and head mountain guide Edward Sath has abandoned his effort to explore the volcano's summit crater after a freak ice storm blew in. He is now back with Jean, and the weather has cleared. The small group will investigate Kilimanjaro's glaciers before pushing on to the summit.
I'm right on the rim now, making my way round to Uhuru Peak. And here behind me is part of the famous snows of Kilimanjaro. These are the glaciers that unfortunately every year is becoming smaller and smaller. Even Edu here is saying last year the snow and the ice extended way lower down the slopes of Kilimanjaro. And now today when we walked up, only just as we were reaching Stella Point, that we start to walk in between ice.
Today they are more than 500 meters away and getting noticeably further away each year. With the reduced snowpack, the glacier will shrink at an even greater rate. Inside the crater, the glaciers have almost entirely disappeared. In 10 to 20 years, they will be completely gone. Although scientists who predicted their demise were off by 10 to 20 years, it is evident that the famed snows of Kilimanjaro's days are numbered. Jean and Edward push on towards the summit.
Here we go. Last few steps to the roof of Africa.
After just 5 days of climbing, Jean stands on top of Kilimanjaro.
You are now at the Uhuru Peak.
Looking down from the peak of Kilimanjaro gives them a greater understanding of what the Serengeti must have looked like 2 million years ago. The plains were built on the ashes of Ngorongoro after a massive eruption that destroyed it, but created the landscape that has nurtured life for 2 million years. And it is possible that one day Kilimanjaro will roar to life again in a major eruption that will destroy itself, creating a new crater like Ngorongoro and building a rich new ecosystem.
Kilimanjaro for me was a really nice experience after living in Tanzania for so many years, doing it for the first time. It was scenically just so incredibly beautiful going up through those forests, and just see how the vegetation changed through the altitude, and being next to those glaciers and just seeing how magnificent they are. It was a really nice nice thing for me to do, certainly.